What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today I want to address the Ugandan President apologized to the African Diaspora, about the role in slavery and all that stuff. And I just want to make it a point, because I think we're the narrative that white supremacy and white people like to throw at black people to disregard their role in transatlantic slave trade, which was 99.99% of it. They're the ones who did it. Let's remember, it was the European that enslaved Africans. Let's remember that. Okay. Now, after that, there were a few collaborators, that collaborated willingly and unwillingly, in the transatlantic slave trade. But let me give you guys an example, because it seemed like you guys just haven't figured it out yet, right? First of all, white people always use deception, right? And when it comes to, them trying to divide and conquer. Now, I'm gonna give you a great example. Right now, America, we agitated and manipulated Europe into getting into a war, right? And so all the American people, what are we doing? We're saying, we are fully aware that America instigated the Ukraine and Russia situation, right? There's a whole medieval trench warfare battle happening, like some straight medieval, like crazy ass should never be happening in human history, even with war type of war happening. Like this is some insane type of war happening. White people killing other white people, right? So that rich white people and their egos can, win the day, right? So if we know that America, pushed Russia into attacking Ukraine because we threatened to bring the United Nations all the way up to Russia's border. We know that there's policies being played, and we know that we're sending weapons and we're doing all this. Because guess what? Ukraine needed weapons, to fight Russians, right? What do? We sent weapons. We send in weapons. Here's more weapons. Here's some logistics. Here, fight your enemy, because we made it so they had to attack you, right? So you see the manipulation America has and the rest of the United Nations have, in this whole situation. That's exactly the same thing that happened in Africa. You had different nations who had historical issues with each other. What did the Europeans do? Hey, they came in and did what? Here's some guns. Go ahead and fight that bigger enemy that has an advantage over you. Now, all of a sudden, you got an advantage. I mean, just pay attention to what's happening now. That's why it's important to know your history, so you know what's happening now. Literally, white supremacy, the white power structure, Europe 2.0, which is America, has been using the same strategy every single time they needed to get what they want. Divide, conquer. Did the same thing. How did you think that the Native Americans got taken down here in America? They came over here. One tribe was probably bigger than the other tribe. Hey, here's some guns. Let me give you some guns. Let me get some weapons so you can fight that bigger tribe, right? Now you got the advantage. And then once that other side happens, like, hey, you need some guns? I heard y'all having a hard time, right? You having a hard time? Yeah, let me give you some guns. It's the same playbook. So we have to stop blaming ourselves, well, fully, because we still need to hold ourselves accountable, because there are people who are complicit. But as much energy as black people who are distracted by the excuses white people make to not take accountability for them, white people, transatlantic slave trade, all them, they did it. They came to Africa and stole us 99.99% of the time. Okay, understand, they took the gun and cannon and said, you either gonna get down or lay down. You understand that, all right? So it's not like it was just a big ass market. White people just pulled up to the goddamn grocery store with a cart, said, let me get a couple Igbos, a couple Yorubas, Fulanis, and houses, and let me get some cons on the side, all right? Yeah, extra large. And that's not how it went. And that's how some unknowledgeable black people are rolling with this narrative. Europeans have been successfully put that narrative in our heads, and we're using it to separate ourselves now against that continental Africans, all right? Keep in mind, all right? I want you to keep in mind, these were Africans that were being taken from Africa. So for every one of us that ended up over here, right? For every African that was enslaved and brought here, that was an African family that lost a family member. So the people there suffered just as much as we suffered. Understand that. We were ripped from something, not from nothing. They didn't go and take your entire genome pool and bring it over here. No, half your genome pool is still over there. Your family is, your blood DNA family is still in Africa right now. And they have stories of them, their loved ones being taken and never returning back home. So they hurt historically just as much as us. So we got to stop making it the main theme that we blame Africans and that they gotta bend over backwards to apologize to us African Americans and us African Caribbeans and everybody, when we accept the white man. We marry in their families, we work with them, we buddies with them, we bring them to the cookout, we teach them how to dance, we clap when they finally get to the rhythm forest, we make them famous because they can sing a little bit. We do all of these things for these white folks, and we just let it go that it was literally everything that you see here is built off the black backs of us. We let all that shit go. But you want to blame the Africans who were taken advantage of because we just so happened didn't win the arms war. We didn't have the cannon and the gun. It doesn't matter how tough we were. We wasn't beating that cannon and the gun. We weren't beating it. So with that being said, I do believe that there are certain, and I think that they should be known. Somebody need to investigate this. There are certain tribes that at least the history should be taught to them of how it happened. There are certain kingdoms, the history should be taught of how it happened. There are certain influential families that probably are still in power to this day that has something to do with it. But there were also many kings, many chiefs, many kingdoms who fought to the death with the detriment of the entire kingdom to fight against transatlantic slave trade. So how about we give them praise for fighting, even though they, you know, obviously they failed to a certain extent, but did they really? I mean, how many people were they, how successful were the white people comparatively of how big Africa is, how huge our kingdoms is, how large our population probably was? How many Africans did those Europeans really get? Were they really truly successful? Were they really truly, I mean, I know we're the ones who ended up over here with a product of that, but on the big grand scheme of things, how actually successful were they in crushing Africa compared to the way they crushed Australians, the way they crushed the Polynesians, the way they crushed the Japanese, the way they crushed the Chinese? And then, check this out. You guys, like, history is so important. Did y'all know that the Europeans, you know about the opium wars, right? The Europeans purposely made the Chinese people hooked on heroin, drugs, so they inserted drugs into their communities to mess them up so they can take advantage of them. Does that seem kind of familiar? It's the same playbook, like literally. That's why I'm like, man, all y'all got to do is step back just a little bit and see it's the same playbook. And once you realize it's the same playbook, you don't fall for the same tricks. All right, stop letting this white man have us fighting each other, talking about, y'all guys enslaved us, y'all sold us. No, that was few and far in between. No, the majority of the time it was white people running up, grabbing little 14, 13, and 12 and 10-year-old black babies that was minding their own business and putting them on them ships. That's what was happening. Stop giving white people a pass while giving all these Africans all this energy because you all of a sudden got a problem now. But you give the white man a pass. No. And if you got that much energy, which yes, we as Africans, we have a gripe that we can talk about, or we have a right to talk about this. But how about you give that same energy and appreciation to the ones that died and fought so that we didn't get captured out here? So maybe some of my family members that actually got to stay in Africa that didn't get captured and put on those ships. How about we appreciate that? Huh? How about we do that? And how about we give those African tribes and kingdoms the same grace, same understanding, and the same forgiveness that we done gave these white people? Huh? We done built whole nations for these people. We done built the greatest goddamn most powerful nations for these people for free. Huh? But we still giving them a pass. We mad at a few chiefs, a few greedy chiefs. The few. Like, it wasn't you. Do you hear the Native Americans blaming each other for setting each other up and letting the white man come and colonize all of America? No. They understand that there were some Native American chiefs that backstabbed or that had problems with other tribes and took advantage and got guns and everybody got set up. They understand that. You don't think that there was Japanese people who went against their own people because they wanted the goodies from the West? It happens. You hear Japanese people talking about, you Japanese people, one for you. We wouldn't have to deal with these Europeans because you guys were turncoats and da-da-da. You don't hear all that. You don't hear them pressing that like that. You don't hear anybody else but black people. You hear the Polynesian? You don't think it was a few Polynesian chiefs, a few Samoan chiefs, a few Hawaiian chiefs that backstabbed their people, you know, sold some of their people into slavery, gave up and sold some of their land? You don't think that happened? Huh? Do you hear the Polynesians and the Samoans and the Australians blaming each other as they're the main progenitors of white dominance and genocide within their countries? Do you hear that? No, because they know who the enemy is. They know who did it. It's clear as day. White people, Europeans, and specifically France, Dutch, German, England, and a few other European countries. Not all of them. Keep that in mind. So yeah, I'm cool with that. I accept the apology. I accept it. And I think some of them families need to come out and make an apology. And we, when they give their apology, need to accept it and stop sitting here like we holier than thou and that their apology was not good enough. Because the white man still ain't apologized to you, and it seemed to be good enough for you. France still ain't apologized, but it seemed to be good. Heads of state still refuse to apologize for what they did and all the things that they reaped and benefited and still benefit to this day. They have not apologized knowing that they wrong, yet we for some reason got all the smoke for the Africans who are sitting here saying, come home, we're sorry, come and build with us, you're my brother, yet we're giving them so much resistance and smoke. That's a part of that self-hate that we still gotta unlearn that the Europeans spent 400, 500 years instilling in us. We got a lot to learn. We got a lot of ignorance to eliminate. We got a lot of feelings we got to get out. We got a lot of soul searching to do. We got a lot of cultural prioritizing that we need to do. And we got a lot of focusing we need to do. Because Africa is the future. You and your hurt feelings and wanting apologies and them Africans did that, that shit don't mean nothing right now. The only thing that matters is that we need to unify because there's a reason for it. And we don't have time for these emotions. It's time for business. Let's go. Me personally, I don't care about an apology. That's not gonna stop me from going to my motherland. That's not gonna stop me from getting what's mine, because mine is owed to me. I don't need permission from any African to go do what I need to do in my own continent. It's mine, it belongs to me, I'm African. And that's the attitude you need to have. You don't need a welcome wagon. It's yours, it's home, go home. But even though you don't need the welcome wagon, they're laying out the red carpet for you. Just be appreciative and go get what's yours. They saying, here you go, go take it. After apology. But if the apology come, thank you, I appreciate it, let's move on. That's how we do, like adults. Anyway, that's all I got to say about the matter. It's Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach them. I'm out.